morning and welcome to Law Talk with Ethel Mitchell. Now for today's show, here's attorney Ethel Mitchell.
Welcome. I am attorney Ethel Mitchell and I welcome you to our discussion on the law. I firmly believe that we do better when we know better. First, I do want to announce that I will be a speaker this Thursday along with Judge Fern Sadler, an associate judge of the D.C. Superior Court, and Constance Gould Starks, the former Register of Wills for the District of Columbia, at the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, 4411 14th Street Northwest, Thursday, April 10th at 6:30. It is free and open to the public, so please come. You may call my office at 202-772-1988. I will be talking about the necessity of having wills, trust, power of attorneys, and probate, so please call me. And please come to the event. It's part of their continuing series on taking care of your business. Now, I've been a lawyer for over 30 years, and I can tell you the law is such a powerful force in each of our lives. It impacts everything we do, and it's the one area of life where what you don't know can hurt you, and what you do know can empower you. My aim is to empower you. And so each week, I'm going to be bringing you professionals who work in the areas that we are discussing every day. Our theme for April is the law and churches. And today we're going to be exploring legal issues that confront churches with Reverend Dr. Michael Chambers. April 12th, next week, attorney Erika Cole, the church attorney, will discuss the matters that she covers in her church compliance conference, which is scheduled this year for September 25th of 2014. April 19th, attorney James Montgomery, a tax expert, will cover the requirements of the 501c3 application, when you need one and when you don't. And April 26th, attorney Antonio Orocho will talk about his experience as an attorney who specializes in forming nonprofits and charities and as former executive director of the National Hispanic Bar Association. We want you to be part of this conversation, so please call us. My executive producer, Stacy Worster, is standing by. You can call us at 1-800-450-7876. That's 1-800-450-7876. And you can tweet us at LawTalkEM. And like us on Law Talk with Ethel Mitchell in Facebook. The Hartford Institute for Religious Research estimates that there are 350,000 religious congregations in the United States. According to the 2012 Yearbook of American and Canadian Churches, the largest religious group, is the Roman Catholic Church. The other large national congregations include the Southern Baptist Convention, the United Methodist Church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, known as the Mormon Church, the Church of God in Christ, a predominantly black Pentecostal denomination, the African American Episcopal Church, and others. As far as the law is concerned, a church is a not-for-profit corporation. They have contractual issues, construction issues, child protection issues, vendor contractor issues, and many more. Today we're going to hear from Reverend Dr. Michael Chambers shortly about various issues confronting churches. First, however, I must remind you that what you hear on this show is for information purposes only. No attorney-client relationship is established by anything said on the show. Each person's circumstances are different. Each organization's circumstances are different. And I definitely recommend that you seek individual or organizational legal counsel for any situation for which you need legal advice. So let's talk to Reverend Dr. Michael A. Chambers. Dr. Chambers is the senior pastor of Fountain Baptist Church in Baltimore, Maryland. He has over 20-plus years' experience as a senior pastor and has served as senior pastor for churches in Mississippi, Georgia, and Maryland. He is a veteran of the United States Army, and he says that his time in the military shaped his character, his values, his discipline, and his leadership aptitude. He holds a Bachelor of Business Administration from Faulkner University, a master's degree from New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary, a doctorate degree with an emphasis in leadership from the United Theological Seminary in Ohio. In addition, he has graduate hours in business from the University of Baltimore and has received a certificate in community building strategies and coaching. He is affiliated with various community service organizations. He is also a licensed leadership coach with the John Maxwell Group and the owner of CCT Partners, a consultancy that coaches professionals, leaders, executives, managers, supervisors, and employees in business and organizations. You may contact Reverend Chambers through his church at www.fountainbaptist.org. Their telephone number is 410-675-1372. You can also reach him at his consultancy firm at Dr. Chambers at cctpartners.com or telephone number 443-240-8585. And you can also email him. He's on Facebook at Dr. M. Chambers and on Twitter at Dr. M. Chambers. So Reverend Dr. Chambers, thank you so much for being a guest on Law Talk with Ethel Mitchell.
It's my pleasure.
You are our first non-lawyer guest. Thank you very much. The churches are the backbone of our community.
Absolutely.
They are so important. And as with every organization and situation we discuss on this program, law plays a critical role in the church as well. You've been a pastor in Mississippi, Georgia, and now Maryland.
Correct.
Tell us about some of the legal matters that you have encountered.
Well, Ethel, first I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to share some interesting facts as it relates to the church. Many of the legal issues that confront the church as it stands now, one of the primary ones that would be the contractual issues between pastors and churches.
Okay, explain that for us, please.
Yes. Obviously, the relationship between a pastor and church is paramount, and it's very important and critical for the life and sustainability of the church. But oftentimes, the employee contract between the pastor and church is often not in place.
Okay.
Therefore, it creates a lot of challenges and barriers in that ongoing relationship, and also during the time of transition, in some situation, dismissal or retirement.
Okay, so are you saying that sometimes pastors don't have written contracts?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
That makes things pretty insecure, I would think.
Absolutely. But I think more so in this time in which we live, but historically that has been the case. And when I say they actually don't have contracts in place, oftentimes it's something that's written, put down on paper, possibly notarized by members of the church, but not actually taken through a legal route.
So lawyers aren't involved in it?
Oftentimes they're not.
They're not. Okay,
Correct.
So even when they have a contract, it's not a legal contract.
Correct.
In the sense that a lawyer drew it up.
Correct.
Okay, so that, how does that manifest? I mean, when a pastor gets ready to retire, is that covered usually?
Well, often there are, more often than not, there are a lot of issues and challenges as that person begins to make the transition into retirement, because adequate items have not been considered and put in contract, and therefore it puts the church in jeopardy. It puts the pastor in jeopardy as well.
Wow, and pastors work so hard in their churches.
Oh, absolutely.
They really do.
Absolutely.
I mean, that is a hard job. It really is.
Absolutely.
I'm taking from that you are recommending that churches have in place some kind of a written legal document.
I strongly recommend that it is possibly drafted by a team of persons who have the wherewithal and the skill set to pull it together, but also to obtain the services of an attorney who's very familiar with church contractual relationship between pastors and churches, or churches and employees.
Okay. Listeners, I hope I know I sent emails and an e-blast to a lot of churches, so I'm hoping that people are listening to this and will take what you say to heart.
Okay.
Tell me, does the lack of such contractual dealings or a culture of having things in writing and having severance packages in place, how does that impact a church's future?
Oh, absolutely. It impacts.
How does that?
It impacts the church's future in many ways. One, oftentimes a pastor's tenure may continue further than anticipated because various things are not in place as it relates to retirement. And other issues as it relates to the individual transitioning from that place of employment.
Oh my! I represent several pastors, but only one have I seen where the church actually put in place a annuity to pay him and his wife. After his retirement, so that he was at least secure, and his wife would be secure, and the church made that happen. And I really would think that would be something that churches and pastors would like to have. Oh, it's
absolutely critical for the future of the church. It actually jeopardizes both parties. It's not just one-sided. It jeopardizes the pastor as well as the church.
Does that affect the ability of the church to attract pastors?
Oh, most definitely, because if the church obviously is in a bind or a relationship that has not been solidified through legal means, it creates a barrier or a challenge for the church pursuing the best candidate that God has in store for them, in light of the fact that they have some issues with the former pastors, and it creates a problem for incoming pastors who may want to serve that particular church. And it also restricts the field of potential candidates that would best serve that church in light of the fact of the history that the church has with a former predecessor or vice versa.
So even internally within the church, people know, even if it hasn't, not necessarily in the church, but in the organization, it's kind of known what churches are easy to get along with and what churches are not.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
That'd be fair to say.
It is, I mean, within this, especially now within the media age in which we live, social media, it's very easy to ascertain the information from colleagues, persons that you've gone to seminary with, persons that you're connected with around the country, to get information related to the history of the church. And oftentimes pastors are going to look at the tenure, how long the church has had a pastor in place, if there was any issues, challenges, or divisions, if you will. And oftentimes that will restrict the field, especially for those persons who have experience and are academically credentialed.
Okay. Yeah, because it takes money and time to get those academic credentials. It really does. We were talking before the show about the fact that their ministers are leaving the field. And financial concerns are part of that. Would that be a fair statement?
Absolutely. It is becoming more of an option or an opportunity for those who begin to project their long-term future as to how it's going to have an impact on, more specifically, them individually and their families. Obviously, if pastors have children, family, and responsibilities, just like anyone else, if they're looking at the possibility of sending their children to school or to college, and you've got to consider all those factors. And if there is no security there, obviously, pastors have to do what they need to do in order to support their family.
Take care of their families.
That's what the Bible speaks to.
Yeah. I know of a couple in Texas where that was a real issue when they got ready to send and they were both pastors and had been all their lives, but they had a hard time sending their children to college. And the church, and it was a major, denomination, a major predominantly white denomination, had not made arrangements for them. So this is a real problem. Listeners, I hope you will call us at 1-800-450-7876 or tweet us to join the conversation. Let's continue with other contractual issues or legal issues that you see churches having to face.
Sure.
What about construction? What about...
absolutely. That's another big challenge or problem, because oftentimes the churches don't have the necessary skill set in order to deal with construction companies. and more times than not, the churches are trying to project manage their construction opportunities before them, and not realizing that they need to hire a professional project manager that is not connected to the construction crew.
Okay, so you say you need a project manager that's not connected to the construction crew, and I believe you told me when we were talking that you need a contractor who knows how to build churches.
Oh, absolutely. Oftentimes what has happened, most especially within the African American context, persons who do not actually specialize in churches are taking advantage of churches and share with them that they have the ability when in fact they do not. It takes a special mindset and experience on the know-how to build a church, because space has to be considered, the future has to be considered, and oftentimes it's better for churches because of financial issues to phase in as it relates to construction.
Okay, so if you are building a whole campus where you have the church and the school and the daycare and all like that,
Correct.
Is that an issue? Have you seen that be an issue?
I have seen it being an issue. Either the possibility of the property, the soil has not been tested and bought the wrong, plot of land or place where something that needs to be re-examined, and the churches get left holding the bag because they have not brought in persons like civil engineers, persons who have a love for God, understands church, but at the same time can be an advocate for the church for those construction companies that attempt to bid for the job.
And know what they're doing.
Exactly.
And know what they're doing. That is huge. That is really huge. What other are there vendor problems that churches run into as well?
Absolutely. There are many vendor problems as it relates to, more specifically, for example, for equipment issues, sound system, computers, all the things that necessary for a church to function properly as it relates to a worship environment or a teaching environment. And oftentimes when churches have gone through construction, have spent an enormous amount of money, they will opt to lease equipment, and many times it can get them in a lot of trouble or issues with this lease with the option to buy, not understanding all the legal language in and around it, and many of these entities are aware of that, and I do, from my vantage point, think that they take advantage of many of the churches.
Really? Wow. So listeners, please listen up to that, because I've seen some churches have some huge audio-visual equipment plants. I mean, they are massive, and they must be very expensive.
Oh, absolutely. In many ways, the minimum dollar amount to just a minimum dollar amount as it relates to sound equipment in itself can be anywhere from $100,000 plus.
Oh my God, that's a lot of money. Let's talk a little bit then about people donating money to churches then, because you shared an experience when I came to your church about someone who told you on their deathbed that they wanted to give something to the church.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Obviously, that's an experience I shall never forget. Our church at that time, I was pastoring in another state, and this particular individual, who was a very strong, loyal, committed member of the church, made a phone call. The call was made to me, I think it was approximately around about 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was asked to come to the hospital, and he had a conversation with me because we had attempted to build this legacy piece of trying to get persons to give back to the church, give through the grave, give through the death. And he shared with me, because of his medical issues, he was not able to, but he had the financial wherewithal to leave money to the church in the event of his death. So arriving at the hospital, he shared with me that he wanted to leave the church approximately, I think it was anywhere from $50,000 to $75,000. And I shared that with relatives, and he asked them to leave out of the room so that he can have a conversation between himself and his pastor. So I shared the information with the relatives, and he confirmed it. After we had the conversation, and it was assured to me, shared with me, that this would happen in the event of his death. And lo and behold, he died probably within a matter of 3 to 4 days, and none of this came to fruition because of the fact that it was not written.
It was not written.
Exactly.
So, ladies and gentlemen, pastors, this is where I can help at least, because I do a lot of wills, a lot of trusts that include benefits to churches, schools, nonprofits, and a lot of people don't realize that they can give even when they don't know exactly how much they're going to give.
Exactly.
You can give a percentage. You can give, like I'm finishing a probate now where I wrote a will, and the lady gave half of her, she gave a lot of gifts to friends and family, and then she gave half of her remaining estate, whatever it was, to certain friends, because she didn't have any children, and she gave the other half to Howard University, and so others may eat. And she had no idea how much it would be, and she gave a gift to her church, too.
Right.
Come to find out, it's like $75,000 is going to Howard. Because I tell people here, if you own a house in the D.C., Maryland area, that you're going to have $150,000 at least.
Absolutely.
Okay? So you can put that in your will, that your church is to get either X amount or a percentage of whatever you have. And it can tremendously benefit our institutions and the church and the community. So that's something that at least I can help with, at least. So if anybody's out there wanting to do something like that, or if churches like me to come and speak about it, I'm actually going to be talking at Coppin State May 1st.
Oh, wonderful.
About that, about the potential and the opportunities for giving for that university, and I'll be glad to come and talk to others. We are speaking with Reverend Dr. Michael Chambers. He's with the First Fountain Baptist Church in Maryland. You can reach him at 410-675-1372. You can also contact him for coaching at cctpartners.com. His phone number there is 443-240-8585. And, of course, you can reach me, Ethel Mitchell, at 202-772-1988. As always, the time goes so quickly. Is there any other area? I think we talked about the need for churches to have in place policies around children. Can you just very briefly talk about that?
Wow, that is a much-needed area. I have not personally gone through that as a pastor with a church, but I've had very many colleagues that were in close proximity experience that. So I think it's very critical that churches have policies in place, and not just policies that they create on their own, but if they create them, make sure to allow an attorney to evaluate them and to make the adjustments and changes, because our children are our most precious commodity, and of all the places, we want to make sure that they are safe and secure up under the auspices of God Himself as it relates to the church. So the churches need to move expeditiously in creating those policies, and from my vantage point, possibly bring a halt to any type of youth activities until those pieces are in place, so that you can actually do background checks for the youth workers and to ensure the protection of the child, the church, and the parents.
And the workers.
Exactly.
I would think, because if you have a written policy in place, it also protects whoever is working in the daycare center or who's working in the school to be protected from false accusations, as well as protecting the children who are there under being taught about God and about good and about values and so forth like that. Listeners, I hope that you have learned a lot. I thank you, Reverend Chambers, because you have really opened up an area that we need to talk about. We need to, the law is such a huge, powerful force that can help us in doing whatever we're trying to do. And certainly when it comes to protecting and making our churches strong, it is critically important that we do that. We thank you very much for coming. Next week, Attorney Erika Cole is going to come, and I hope that our listeners will listen in. You know Attorney Cole, is that correct?
I've actually attended one or two Attorney Cole's compliance conferences, and she brings a wealth of knowledge, and I think one of the most valuable assets with her is that not only she's an attorney, but she loves God and she loves the church. So she comes from a place of passion and purpose.
Well, I'm looking forward to having her next week. If there are any churches who are interested in her compliance conference, please listen in next week because she's going to be here. She's going to talk about the kinds of things that she covers, which I understand are great. If you have any questions for Reverend Chambers in terms of how he can help you in training you with your leadership skills, organizational skills, community organizations, and so forth. He's doing a leadership, what do you call it? Tell me a little bit about it. I'm trying to, I know a little bit, but.
Well, we're involved in two mastermind groups now, which
Mastermind, that's the name of it.
Deals with leadership development and helping persons to reach their maximum potential.
And what do you teach there? What do you teach people?
It's primary leadership skills, and that leadership is about influence, and everything rises and falls on leadership, as well as communication, raising their lid, understanding what it takes to sacrifice, reprioritizing, reframing, and retooling. Oh,
that sounds really exciting. And if people would, and this is a course, how do you organize it?
Actually, it's an invitation that's sent out to professionals and organizations, and those who have a desire to learn more about it, they can contact me at 443-240-8585. We've got a up-and-coming mastermind group, a new one that will be starting mid-May.
And this is for lay people?
Yes.
This is not for necessarily in the church. It's mainly for lay people.
Correct.
So listeners, if you are interested and even just curious about it, because it sounds fascinating. Right. I know you told me if you got enough people, you'd do it here in D.C. as well as in Baltimore.
Absolutely.
So that would be great. Yeah. That would be great. Thank you so much. This is Attorney Ethel Mitchell. I hope that you have learned. I thank you for sharing your experiences and bringing light to something that is often not talked about.
Right.
Law is power, and we want to be able to use that in our churches, in our individual lives, and in everything that we do. So thank you for listening. Give me a call, Ethel Mitchell, at 202-772-1988. Again, you can come to the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Thursday night at 6:30, and I'll be speaking there, and I hope you all have a great week. Thank you very much, and thank you, Dr. Chambers. Thank you.
You've been listening to Law Talk with Ethel Mitchell. Be sure to tune in next Saturday at 11:30 a.m. for another informative broadcast.
Elevate your mind. Elevate your spirit at Elevate.com. Discover keys to improve your finances, health and fitness tips, and daily articles to uplift your spirits throughout your day. Build yourself for better living. Enter into serenity. Experience growth. It is all here at Elevate.com. Visit www.elev8.com today. Elevate.com, empowering you.
Do you have student loans? Are you worried about making your payments? Don't worry, we can help you. If you're behind, if you're late, or even if you are in default on your student loans, we can help consolidate your student loans into one affordable monthly payment and cut your payments right away. We provide student loan relief, getting you relief from your student loans fast, no matter how much you owe or how far behind you are on payments. Call our established student aid toll-free assistance line right now at 800-967-7516. We can fix your student loan problems guaranteed. And this is a government program, so there is no credit check. You may even qualify for the government's income-based program, which means you could pay as little as $5 per month. Call 800-967-7516 now. We've helped thousands of people just like you fix their student loans. Our specialists are waiting for your call. Call 800-967-7516. That's 800-967-7516. Again, 800-967-7516.
When I have an asthma attack, I feel scared. It's kind of like an elephant is on my chest. I feel like I'm choking. Sometimes my parents have to take me to the hospital.
You know how to react to their asthma attacks. Here's how to prevent them. Call 1-866-NO-ATTACKS. Visit www.noattacks.org or call your doctor, because even one attack is one too many.
I feel like a fish with no water.
Brought to you by the EPA and the Ad Council.
Whether it's a serious fall, fire danger, or other type of home emergency, Life Alert is there for you. The company, with its slogan, "Help, I've fallen and I can't get up," protects its members. Here are some of them.
When you have a heart attack like I did and there's no one there, Life Alert was there for me.
Having a secure feeling through Life Alert is ideal.
My independence is possible because of it.
Now, Life Alert can also protect you in a fire emergency with a system that automatically notifies our monitoring center.
Thanks to Life Alert, you can live alone without ever being alone.
With Life Alert protection, elderly people can avoid or delay going into a nursing facility. For a free brochure about Life Alert service, call now. 1-800-404-2454. That's 1-800-404-2454. Call Life Alert now for your free brochure at 1-800-404-2454.
Hi, my name is Stanley, and I've been arrested for stealing shoes. I didn't really steal them, but I've been sent to Camp Green Lake anyway. The worst punishment a kid could get. And at Camp Green Lake, we dig holes. Lots of holes. I've only been here a short time, but I think the camp director is up to something. I'm Stanley Yelnats, and I'm covering more than dirt at Camp Green Lake. Explore new worlds. Read my story in the novel Holes by Lewis Sacker. For other great book ideas, visit your local library or log on to literacy.gov. Brought to you by the Library of Congress and the Ad Council.
What are you going to do with your old car? You can try selling it. You could junk it. Or you can donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-943-1356. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It'll be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car, and as a special thank you for calling, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to many exciting locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now. Call 1-800-943-1356. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher. Call now. 1-800-943-1356. That's 1-800-943-1356.
News1.com is breaking news for Black America. News1.com tells the stories we care about. Our community, our concerns, our world. Uncensored, unapologetic. News One is news from our perspective. One people, one voice. News1.com.